charge of. He doesn't even know what's in his household. I keep track of everything for him. The only thing he hasn't let me have is you. Should I sin against God in heaven and be with you? In the story, goes out the door, leaves the woman alone. One day, she probably sends everybody out of the house. Joseph's in there by himself. She grabs him. Lie with me. Beg him. Puts him in prison because Joseph ran out the door. Left his coat. Left his tunic. She grabbed a hold of it. It says, Master, he took his coat off, basically, and left. He was ready to, shame me and rape me. And here's proof of that. Puts him in prison. You think the poor boy had been through enough to know he's got to go through some more things? Joseph refused to lose his integrity, yet he still was imprisoned for something that he didn't do. The Word says God showed mercy to him. Now listen, in everything that God does, even in the hardest things that He does, there's purpose behind it. Romans 8:28, all things work together for good to those who love God and are called according to His purpose. The Word says there is no weapon formed against us that shall prosper, because it cannot have success over our life. What it will do is make us look like it had success over our life. Because circumstances will tell us that it did. But the interface says, no weapon formed against me shall prosper. That's the inner faith. That's the inner voice that we need to have in our life. They combined Joseph in the place where the king's prisoners were combined. Now you remember, the destiny is he's got to get to a place of leadership. They could have put him in a dungeon somewhere. They could have killed him. They could have done all kinds of things. But they put him where he would have access, easy access to the king. He gets in prison. He can fall into self-pity. Woe is me. Here I am. I've served God all this time. I've been faithful. I said no to that woman. He might have thought, well, why did I say no? Because here I am in this place anyway. We're just talking about humanity. So here I am in this place anyway. But the Word said the Lord was with him. Prospered in all he did. And the jailer noticed and says, you the man. And he received promotion. He had free access, walking around doing the things he needed to do in that jail. Okay? Because God is a God of promotion. He's a God that promotes those who live right. We might say ourselves, I fast, I pray, I intercede for others, I do all these things. Why do these things happen to me? I remember a year in my life, and I won't get into details of that. I fasted more, prayed more, did more for the Lord. It was just a year. I'm drawing near. That was the hardest year of my life. And it seemed like it was if you looked at the natural, wow. Well, I prayed and fast. I don't know if step away from that fast and stuff. It's a little intense. I don't want the devil to come out. God takes the hard times to make us. So what do? We prosper where we're at. We find ourselves in prison, we prosper. We find ourselves at Save-A-Lot, we prosper. We find ourselves in a new job, whatever it is, a new marriage, we prosper there. We do everything that we can to succeed. The Word says, and the keeper of the prison committed Joseph and all the prisoners who were in prison, whatever they did, it was his doing. The keeper of the prison did not look into anything that was under Joseph's authority, because the Lord was with him. And whatever he did, the Lord made him prosper. We need to learn how to prosper. And I don't mean financial. That's part of it. Julie, if you could come, would you? You see, God has a way. I can't explain how He does all the things that He does. But He has a way, knowing our future destiny and what He's called us to be able to maneuver things in such a way that it puts us at the right place, at the right time, with the right heart. The heart part's our job. He will maneuver, He will twist, He will set things up. The heart part is our job, and that's surrender. Putting us in that place. Those who are familiar with the story, we know that Joseph was a dreamer, but he was also one that could interpret dreams. Two men had a dream in that place, and he said they were bewildered and confused. What's he dreams about? And he said, God's the one that gives dreams. What is it? And they both pronounced their dreams, and the butler pronounced his. It was a favorable dream. He says, you know what, in 3 days, you're going to be standing before Pharaoh again, which is where Joseph will be. You're going to be standing before Pharaoh again, serving him as his butler. That's what you're going to be doing in 3 days. Listen, it's important to understand this last principle. This butler got out in 3 days. Never said a word about Joseph. But when the need came up 2 years later, 2 more years, Joseph served in that prison. He continued to be blessed and he continued to prosper. Pharaoh had a dream, and Pharaoh couldn't understand that dream. And the butler says, now I know where I've been wrong. There's a man in prison who can explain your dream to you. And of course that dream was that Egypt was going to have 7 years of famine, 7 years of prosperity, followed by 7 years of famine. And Pharaoh understood this was a true dream. This was a dream from God. And he says, you know what? I'm looking for a man wise enough to be able to lead this country. I'm looking for a man wise enough to oversee all of these things, because Joseph said, you know what? Here's what you need to do. Take 7 years of prosperity and begin to store up a certain amount of that here in that 7 years. And as you prosper, you will be able to sell that during the 7 years of famine, and Egypt will still be blessed. And he says, I need a wise man like that in charge. And he began to look at Joseph and said, you're the man. And he rose to power. And Israel suffered and experienced famine, and they had to come to Egypt, and they had to come to that place and beg for food. And those brothers had to bow down. Daddy came and had to bow down to their own son. Their son was disguised. They didn't know who they were bowing down to. They had to come and they had to bow down to that one. The one that the brothers tried to put to death that dream. The flesh will always try to kill you. You live in the flesh, it'll always try to kill you. People who don't have a dream, don't have vision, will always try to put out the one that does. What we need to do is understand. Somebody's got something from God, and you say, I want it. I want what they got. I don't want to put it out. I want what they got. I want to know how they got it. If you tell me you got this and I wanted it, I'll be like, how'd you get it? Can you tell me how you got it? I want to tell you how you get it. You prepare your heart to serve God and live for God, and He comes into your heart, and you would stand with Him. He comes into your heart in such a way that He takes the blinders off and you can see. The day I got saved, the day after I got saved, I walked around a building. I looked at the mortar dust that I looked at for years. I'd worked with block layers and this nasty old mortar dust and get you any hair in your nose and everywhere else. I looked at that dust and I said, even the dust is different. I kicked the dirt and I said, it's new. Because that's what happens when Jesus takes the blinders off your life. It isn't just about you anymore. He gives you vision. He lets you see the world from a different perspective. Is it going to be just like mine? I hope not, because God, you're unique. I don't want you to copy my life. Your life's unique. God calls you in different ways. He touches your life in different ways. But He wants to put something in you. And if you've lost it, He wants to put it back in there. And He doesn't want the devil to take it. That's your child. That's why the Scripture says, above all things, guard the heart. For out of that flows the issues of life. You want the devil to take it, you don't guard your heart. Live life any way you want to live. But this morning you need that dream restored. You need something in your life. I want to pray with you and agree with you. I know there's just a few of us this morning, but if I've spoken to you today in any way, the Lord's moved with you in some way, and you need that, you need something, would you come? Let me just pray with you.